A good Friday afternoon to all of you. What a weekend we've got coming. Masters round 2, it's underway. Boy, does it ever look gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous at Augusta, Georgia. A lot of wind, we are told. But as I look at it right here, sunshine galore. Yeah, I see the wind, though. They got the flags. They're just about full mast there as they're straight out. And they're going to make it a little bit tougher. Look, 12 yesterday had some people confounded. They hit into the water, or they hit over. Scotty Scheffler was very fortunate. He hit over into a bunker, then hold the bunker shot. They got a view right now of Tiger Woods, whose ball comes right to the edge. It's obviously chilly. He's wearing a little heavier sweater today. So he's going to tap in for what I'm assuming is an easy par. Thought he had the birdie there, and maybe they'll show us his score. Last I saw, he was even par, and Max Homa, who he is playing with, was at 5 under as they begin their second round. That looks like that was on hole number 2. So we'll keep you updated on all of that as time goes on. The L.A. Lakers in town. The Grizz have 13 on the unable to play. 13 on the that's a full squad, 13, right? That's as many players as a Division I basketball team is allowed to put on scholarship. 13 not able to play. So as we mentioned yesterday, we're going to talk with Andy Schiffman at 10:25. 51 different starters this year, 33 rostered players. Unheard of stuff, but that is the story at the moment, for sure. Brian Takis will join us. What are the Tigers going to do? I'm going to let you know if you're watching online at all, and all of our stuff is on TV here, streamed, wearing a sport coat, because today is the last Penny Hardaway TV show that I think is going to air on Sunday. So you might want to look for that. And I don't even know how much Penny is allowed to talk about P.J. Haggerty or the big kid from Illinois. But we'll get his final thoughts on what his needs may be as he puts together this team. Brian Takis will talk about that. And a week from tomorrow is the Blue-Gray game, the final spring football scrimmage. There was a good story today. I'm guessing Jonah Dillon wrote it because it was in the Commercial Appeal about the receiver room, which looks like it is really, really deep for sure. So let's just quickly, if we can, because this is the first major of the year, and for many, many people, it's their favorite major of the year because it's the only one that you always see at the same incredible place. DeChambeau is sitting in first position. He will tee off in about 50 minutes for his round 2. He's at 7 under. Homa now has it to 6 under today, so he is 1 under. He just birdied 2, and that is what Tiger Woods must have missed. So I'm assuming the Tiger is still at even. We'll check. Scheffler doesn't tee off till 12:48. He is 6 under. Hogard at 5 under. He is even today through 4. A story about Willett. Danny Willett, former Masters champion, had a good day yesterday. He's at 4 under. He is not teed off. He'll tee off in a half an hour. And then you've got Davis, Pavon, the Frenchman, Young. Cam Young is at 3 under. So is Fox, who had gotten it to 5 under and had the lead yesterday midway through the first round and then let it go with a couple of bogeys. Corey Connors 2 under on, who had some great shots, a hole in yesterday. He's 2 under. The kid from Liv, Joaquin Neiman, who we all knew was going to be a great player, 2 under. Former FedEx St. Jude Classic champion Will Zalatoris is at 2 under. There's a bunch at 1 under, and I'm just going to check to see. Even par now would be tied 28. And Tiger Woods actually is +1 total. So he must have finished yesterday. Plus, I thought he finished it even. He's even today through 2. +1, which has him at 35th. That would make the cut at the moment. Remember, 23 consecutive cuts made. He's never missed a cut as a pro. He's trying to beat Freddie Couples and Gary Player for the most made cuts, and I think consecutive cuts too. And so history on the line with his round today. So that gets you updated on the Masters. I'll also let you know the college basketball story is it looks like Mark Pope is about to become the new basketball coach at Kentucky. There are many people that would tell you, oh my God, see what you get when you act like Kentucky fans do and you chase Calipari? Because Nate Oates didn't want the job. Danny Hurley didn't want the job. Jay Wright didn't want the job. Billy Donovan didn't want the job. 4 guys there didn't want the job. This is number 5. But those that are Kentucky loyalists, big fans, will tell you that Mark Pope, was once a captain of the 96 team. That was Pitino's, one of his national championship teams. So the guy comes from the family. He is a Kentucky guy. So he's come to the rescue, even though he's their 5th pick, at least. He was a crowd favorite at Rupp because he's a guy that would go out there and throw elbows. He runs a lot of Pitino's stuff. Loves threes, loves layups, does not like the middle game much. And there are plenty that think this is a really good pick. I have no idea. I know that he was 187 and 108 total. That includes Utah Valley and BYU. So I'm going to give this guy credit. He went and paid his dues. He was an assistant in the SEC, became a head coach at Utah Valley. Nobody's handing you anything when you go to Utah Valley. Then he goes to BYU. He made 2 NCAA tournaments while at BYU. So I think the guy deserves a shot. When you pay your dues, I'm all for you. And this guy has done that. And now we'll see what he can do. My question would be, Kentucky, and they may have said this, the administration, to get rid of Cal. They were looking to get rid of a $33 million payout that they would have had to pay if he was fired. And they weren't going to fire him because they didn't want to pay it. But it was pretty uncomfortable. It was pretty evident that the love was gone. Cal didn't want to stay at a place that didn't appreciate him anymore. But one of the things that really irked Cal, I believe, was that when he approached them about NIL money, that now that has to be serious if you want to compete, they said, oh, yeah, we know that, but you got to raise it. Now, I'm wondering if they're saying that to Mark Pope, that he's got to go raise the NIL money. Because we know that at Arkansas, Cal is not having to raise the money. He's got Tyson Foods, he's got Walmart, he's got Jerry Jones, all those people who are paying him money. They came on board with the expected reality of their foot in the bill for the NIL.
There was a report, I guess one of the Kentucky reporters came out and said that one of the donors pledged like $4 million in NIL.
For 1 year?
I don't know
if that over a period of time?
They pledged $4 million.
Wow. Well, that's what it takes in this day and age. $4 million?
Nice,
that's a big budget. I'll tell you that right now.
It must be nice to have money just to throw it on the wall.
Oh,
like
absolutely, huh? Anyway, the one thing if I were an Arkansas fan, I would be really, truly excited. And the reason I say that is that Cal is driven. Cal wants to coach, or he would have stayed as an ambassador at Kentucky for $1 million a year, been an analyst on ESPN, and not worried about it. He wants to coach. And he wanted to coach at a place where he'd be appreciated. He is going to be absolutely center focused for that team. He loves that attention. And he wants to prove people wrong. If I'm a betting man and I got a driven Calipari that I think we see, I'm putting my money on him having one great year. And you know what he's going to do. He's going to do the same thing he did in Memphis. He's taking the Kentucky class with him to Arkansas. I've already said this. Billy Richmond, they ought to go hard after him because now you got a reopening possibility here, and apparently it was close. Maybe Billy doesn't want to go and live in Fayetteville. I don't know, but I'm sure all those players will go. Now, what will DJ Wagner do? I looked at mock drafts today in preparation for Andy Schiffman. I don't see him as a second-round pick. So is DJ Wagner going to leave? Where's he going to go? Is that class all going? Because it was the number one class. It'll be interesting. My money is with Cal. I just hope he does one thing. I hope he renews, and I don't think he will, but I would love for him to renew the series with Memphis, because Memphis and Arkansas should play in hoops every single year. 1 year home, 1 year away. If you want to throw a third one in on a neutral like Little Rock, okay, I'd go for that for a 3-game series, but I'd certainly like to see that series renewed. We're going to talk some baseball here in a minute with Tim Doolin. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studios with a reminder. Yep, factory direct pricing sale still going on swimming pools, spas, and on patio furniture. And I'm talking savings from $1,000 to $5,000. Yeah, you heard me right, $5,000. If you get to I-40 and Whidden Road, go a little north, you'll see the factory direct pricing sale going on right now at Family Leisure. Let's bring in our baseball guy. That would be Tim Doolin. And interesting. The Houston Astros have lost 3 in a row. They got swept in the last series. They're 4-10. This is a team that many thought would be pennant contenders, World Series hopefuls. What the heck has happened to Houston to this team? Good morning, Tim Doolin.
Good morning. Good morning. What a beautiful day it is in Memphis.
Yeah.
Good day to head out to Miramichi.
Well, I'm glad you said that because that is how we're ending this segment, with a spot on Miramichi.
Very nice.
So you set me up beautifully.
There you go. The Astros are they've got some injuries. You've got Bregman in a free agent year, so there's going to be some pressure on him to perform, and they've got some young players that are going to have to step up. I don't think that it's time to panic if you're a big Astros fan, but you can't go too much longer and get that far behind in that division and expect to come back. I tell you the one team that really interests me is that although the Yankees are off to one of their best starts in years, and I think that we've always said on paper how good the Yankees are, and now you've got a Soto who's in his free agent year, who's very hungry. I think he's brought some energy to that club with Stanton having a great start. Obviously, we know what Judge is capable of and what he's going to do if he stays healthy. It's just going to come down to can they stay healthy enough on the mound and with their core guys to be the team that Yankee faithful are expecting. The team that I'm so interested in is my former team is the Orioles. They've got probably 4 of the best young players in all of the game. They just brought Holiday up. He hasn't gotten a hit yet, but has made some good plays defensively and picked up a key RBI the other night to send it into extra innings. And they've had great drafts over the last several years, and these guys are already getting to the big leagues. It's crazy. I really like the Orioles in that division.
Since you brought up Jackson Holiday, that's Matt Holiday's son. He was considered the number 1 prospect. He was supposed to start, by the way, with the Orioles this year, and they set him down for 2 weeks. I don't know if
basically what they did that was just because they didn't want his service time to start.
Right.
And it was basically just a business decision. He's got a younger brother that's one of the top prospects in the country, too, that's coming out, I think, in next year's draft. So the Holidays are definitely for real.
What makes Jackson Holiday so good?
He's just he's grown up in the game, been in the clubhouse. He's not in all the game, much like Barry Bonds and other players that have had fathers that have played. Left-handed hitter, can really, really run. He's really, I would say, a 5-tool player. He's right now playing second. He can play shortstop. He's got raw power to all fields, and not to mention how fast he is. He's just got that it factor that just screams with excitement and talent. You want to watch this guy.
I was looking at some projections I thought were really interesting. and they were talking about speed, power, that they could set a record this year for home runs, for stolen bases, and that the White Sox could lose 120 games. Are they that bad?
Oh my gosh, I don't see how you can say they're going to lose 120. That would be crazy. But I haven't been following them, so I couldn't tell you how bad they are. But if the prognosticators are saying they could lose 120, they definitely will lose 100. So they've just been on a roller coaster of. I think it's probably time for them to make some moves with their front office and kind of clean house. The Orioles did that several years ago, and look what it's paid off. It's all about getting the right people and then going out and identifying the type of players that you want in the draft, educating your scouts on what we're looking for and the type of culture we're trying to create. And then you got to go execute it and hit on some good players, and the Orioles have done that.
In the projections that I was just talking about with power and everything else, they picked the Pirates now to win the National League Central. They are basically even with the Brewers. The Pirates have most wins with 9. The Brewers are 8-3. Cubs are 7-5. The Cardinals are under 500. This seems to be one of the more equal of divisions. Is Pittsburgh good enough to actually win that division? Remember, the early prognosticators were saying this was the Cubs or the Cardinals division. And maybe the Brewers, some were in there, but the loss of Craig Counsell, their manager, to the Cubs, kind of put them out of the running here. How do you view that division now?
I wouldn't say that the Pirates are a favorite. I don't know how you can pick a favorite when the Pirates haven't done it. They've got great young talent. They've got some exciting players. They do have speed and power. But when we talk about the Central all the time, and it's anybody's race now, whereas before it was 3 teams that we were talking about. So that, to your point, that division is definitely wide open. And I think it's going to come down to, where are we at the All-Star break? And I will bet you we're right about where we are right now. There's just a ton of parity in that division.
All right, let's switch and move over to high school baseball. We covered a lot of college baseball yesterday, and I know the Memphis Tigers have I guess you could call it a historical series because it's the first time they're ever playing UTSA, and they have a 3-game series starting today at AutoZone Park, FedEx Field. It's not AutoZone Park. What am I talking about? FedEx Field, Avron Fogelman. Right. FedEx Park, Avron Fogelman Field, I believe.
There you go.
Is how we get all the good guys in there that have given to Memphis baseball. But what about high school-wise? Because let's face it, the Doolin Dodgers, your organization, which is now in 3 different spots that provides colleges with a lot of great players. Tell me a little bit about what we've got going with high school baseball this year before they get into their competitive teams.
Well, I'll tell you, I think the first and foremost, Craig Hopkins at Briarcrest has put together a really good group of players. He's got some good young pitchers. He's 15-5. I would say they're probably the talk of the town as far as the high school teams go. Houston's traditionally good. Arlington's playing well. Christian Brothers and MUS are kind of right behind Briarcrest, and I think that right now I would have to say Briarcrest is really the cream of the crop in this high school division in Memphis.
Is there a star or two anywhere that you see as a definite SEC or U of M player?
Yeah, I would say that Houston's always put out really good players. Collins Day, who's a former University of Memphis standout player and has been an assistant coach with Lane McCarter at Houston for years. His son is really, really talented. He's a quarterback that led that team to a state championship this past year, and he's a really good left-handed pitcher and hitter on that club. So I would say he's probably one of the top prospects in the area. Briarcrest has a couple of good young arms that colleges are already coming to watch, which is in today's world when they're not really able to talk and make offers until August the 1st of their junior summer. They're already in to see, and I can't recall the left-handed pitcher's name, but he's creating a buzz, quite a bit of buzz in the area as far as being the next pitching prospect in the Memphis area.
schools like Houston, Germantown, Christian Brothers, where do they sit in the hierarchy this year?
Yeah, Christian Brothers is good. Jason Mott's, I think, done a great job of kind of rebuilding that program after Buster Kelso left, and he's got some really good young players as well. And so it's just hard to say. Not even really halfway through the high school season, kind of just getting going. They'll start their district play pretty soon here, where they'll play each one of those teams in their district, on a 3-game set that'll lead them into the districts and the regional tournaments. So I think you could kind of flip a coin, other than Briarcrest being really in the lead, and whoever's got. If you've got one or two really good arms, you can make a pretty good run in the private school division for sure.
Jason Mott is an interesting story to me. He lives down the street from me. He's a delightful guy, young kids. He made a lot of money in Major League Baseball. He didn't need to do this. He really was, I think, a volunteer assistant for Buster, wasn't he?
Correct.
That's
correct.
And then finds himself in this position, and he's really taken it on with serious effort. A guy who does not need to do this has become passionate about it. So it's an interesting story.
No, it really is. And Andy Cook, who played at Memphis, is kind of like his volunteer assistant. Andy pitched in the big leagues with the Yankees, and he's also passionate about it. And I think that's what Bill Smith's been there for years. He's still on board as the assistant, and kind of I think is a huge asset to that club and that school, and he always has been. So there's no question that Christian Brothers has an unbelievable history of pumping out great players and having a very successful baseball program. And I think it's awesome that Jason is doing something that he loves and always has, and was able to make a lot of money enjoying playing the game, and now he's just trying to give back, and I think that's awesome.
Andy Cook, by the way, is a guy that we just inducted into the Memphis Amateur Sports Hall of Fame, and I know that meant a lot to him. He really loves the game. Here's another guy.
No, he really does.
Well,
he really does.
Yeah.
Yep.
Giving back.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
I love that aspect of it. As always, my friend, we appreciate it. We'll see where everybody's at next week when we talk.
Sounds good.
That's Tim Doolin, our man on baseball, and he is brought to you by Miramichi. Did you know Miramichi offers memberships? Yeah, it's a great way to play more golf for less out of that pocket of yours. The membership runs $300 a month plus tax. That includes unlimited rounds and range balls, and the best part, no extra cart fees. Most places, every place that I know of, really, if you're a member, you don't pay for green fees, but you pay for carts. Not with this at Miramichi. And on top of that, you'll get discounts in the pro shop. There is no initiation fee. The greens, by the way, perfect shape. And I know you need to book early, because times, as I've tried this week to get a time, if morning tee times are more important to you, and that's what you want, you can book up to 14 days ahead to reserve your spot. Check out which one applies to you, call. They're friendly folks. They're great folks at Miramichi. It is not far, 22 minutes from my driveway in East Memphis in Woodstock. We take a break. When we come back, we go to Chicago. We talk NBA, final weekend of the regular season. We'll talk with our friend, our agent, Andy Schiffman from Priority Sports. He comes your way next.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Looking for sports in all the wrong places? Try the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland Town Square. Fun, friendly, exciting, and comfortable with wall-to-wall TVs for all your favorite games, 24 taps for all your favorite beers, including NA and local craft beers, and an in-front-of-the-wall full bar for all your other favorite beverages, including a full wine list. Add in an upscale menu, patio seating, daily specials, and events, and you found all your sports in the one right place. The Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland Town Square, Highway 70.
Get ready for grilling season with the Ultimate Burger Perfection Flight for just $89.99 when you shop omahasteaks.com and use promo code SIZZLE at checkout. That's 24 rich and juicy Omaha Steaks pure ground burgers. They're guaranteed to deliver an explosive combination of tenderness, juiciness, and unmatched quality. Each 6-ounce burger is guaranteed to satisfy with every bite. That's omahasteaks.com, SIZZLE at checkout to unlock this exclusive deal. Hurry, supplies are limited.
Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher.
Welcome to the Rendezvous.
This is John Vergas. When my dad started the Rendezvous in 1948, I don't think anyone could have imagined we'd still be serving shoulder, cheese plates, and our world-famous dry rub ribs 75 years later. But we are still here in the basement, in an alley in downtown Memphis. We sincerely thank you for making the Rendezvous what it is today. Charlie Vergas Rendezvous, serving the official barbecue of the Memphis Grizzlies.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Tiger Woods is hitting the golf ball. Just missed a birdie on 2, got a birdie on 3, 1 under through 3, even par now. Tied for 27th. Max Homa, a couple under today now. He's at 7 under. That has tied Bryson DeChambeau, who is not yet teed off in the second round. We're going to talk with our good friend, our agent, Andy Schiffman in Chicago in a second. Eli just told me I get to give away some tickets. I've got 2 tickets for the Lakers and the Grizzlies tonight. Anthony Davis probable, LeBron James questionable. How important is this game? They're in the play-in. They're going to play probably Golden State. I don't know if there's any movement in the last 2 or 3 games that they could make, but we're going to ask Andy Schiffman in a second if he thinks LeBron and Anthony Davis will play this evening. 13 guys on the Grizzlies side are not going to play. So Andy comes your way in a second. In the meantime, the third caller on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line at 360-8255, 901-360-8255. Third caller gets 2 tickets to the Lakers and the Grizzlies tonight. And the weekend is here. You need to stock up. Where do you go? You know by now. You go see my friend Eddie Connor at the Spirit Shop at Poplar in St. Nick. 4848 Poplar, that's the exact address, that little log cabin right down from Clark Tower. You've passed it by a million times, and the great thing about the Spirit Shop, besides its location, is the people inside, because they will tell you exactly what's going on with any kind of spirit you could possibly need. If you're looking for a rub for a specialty cocktail you want to put on the rim of a glass, they got it. You're looking for any of the local Memphis-made beer or bourbons, like Blue Note, they got it. If you're looking for Grind City beer, they got it. If you're looking for a high-dollar, incredible bourbon or tequila, they've got that. They've got middle range. They've got the up-and-comers. They told me about Cornerstone before Cornerstone became a major entity, and I got a bunch of Cornerstone at a really good price because I knew it was coming. What's the next Cornerstone? Eddie Connor and his staff know, and they love to educate. So with the weekend here, it's time to stock up with your favorite spirit. You head to the one place you can count on. That's the Spirit Shop at Poplar and St. Nick. We'll give you the winner here in a second. We've already got the guy that got the tickets, or the gal that got the tickets to the Grizzlies and the Lakers tonight. So you don't need to call anymore. Zach's got the name and the winner. We'll give it to you in a second. In the meantime, to Chicago we go. And our wonderful agent, Andy Schiffman. Do you think, is it important enough for LeBron and Anthony Davis to play tonight against the Lakers? Tough question right off the bat.
Hey, Dave, good morning. I do think it's important because if you look at the current standings in the Western Conference, you've got a pretty close race there for spots 8, 9, and 10. And really, as it applies to the Lakers, they're sitting at 10 right now. And so they're in the play-in game against Golden State. I believe Golden State got the tiebreaker. So if the season ended today, the Lakers would play at Golden State for that play-in game. Each team has 2 games left. Obviously, you saw last night the Lakers lost at home to the Warriors. I know LeBron is questionable for tonight. I think it's an absolute must-win for the Lakers in terms of trying to lock in and try and move up over Golden State, who also has 2 games left. I believe they have New Orleans and Utah, both at home, both winnable games. New Orleans could be difficult, but they could also be resting some of their guys. So I do think LeBron, me personally, I do think LeBron will play tonight.
So if it started today, the Lakers have the home court advantage on the Warriors. If it started today.
Oh, okay.
Phoenix plays Sacramento in Phoenix.
Yep.
Does that? I mean, I guess it matters for home court. That's why you want to win.
Absolutely.
Would you rather be in Sacramento's position and play Phoenix if you're the Lakers or the Warriors?
You're saying would the Lakers rather be playing the Warriors or Sacramento?
No. There's a possibility that the Lakers or the Warriors could move up into the Sacramento slot
to play
Phoenix.
In Phoenix.
Yeah. Phoenix is going to be the home court anyway you look at it.
Sure. And they're so volatile. I would not want to play Phoenix. But, again, like whichever way you look at it, there's a chance that they may have to play Phoenix. But Phoenix at home, I know they've lost some that they had no business losing, but I do think that 3-headed monster of Booker, Beal, and Durant come playoff time, they're very dangerous. Sacramento, they're reeling a little bit, and I think Phoenix is going to win that game if it's 7-8 versus Sacramento. If I'm the Lakers or the Warriors, I'd very happily stick with playing Sac or playing one of those Lakers Warriors, depending on who you're talking about, as opposed to Phoenix. I think Phoenix could be a very dangerous team in the play-in game and the playoffs as well.
Yeah, I keep hearing that. And I know they've had injuries, and they're this 3-headed monster, but they're in the play-in. It's not like this team is incredible. I mean, they sit there at 47-33. But first of all, it used to be that you had to be 500 to make the playoffs, right? To make the play-in. Well, Golden State's got 45 wins. The Lakers got 45 wins. Yep. And it's 10 games over 500. That's how good the West is. But Phoenix could still end up being in the playoff, because they're only a game behind the Pelicans.
Exactly. But you look at Phoenix, right? They were without Devin Booker for a good portion of the season. They're without Bradley Beal for the beginning of the season as well. They obviously made some moves at the deadline. They added Royce O'Neal. So, again, I always use this caveat on any team I'm talking about, you have to be healthy. So if you are healthy, I think they are a tough out in the playoffs if fully healthy, because they're so talented offensively. Is it enough for them to overcome the likes of OKC, Minnesota, Denver, even the Clippers up there? Probably not. But again, if you're talking about the lower half of the playoffs, play-in game, I could see them coming out of there and solidifying a 7th spot. But then again, fast forward to that real first round of the playoffs, it's going to be a difficult series. I wouldn't have them advancing past the first round, depending on who they get. Let's just hypothetically say they do end up playing an OKC or Minnesota. I would still pick OKC or Minnesota over Phoenix, but I by no means would look at that series and think it's a sweep.
When you look at Denver now in first, in the top position, the defending champs, do you see anybody really beating them?
You know, I've been a big Minnesota fan all season, Dave. I think they defend very well. I mean, obviously the news here is Karl Anthony Towns could be coming back.
He is. According to the stories today, he's back. He'll be back for the playoffs.
Exactly. So depending on where he's at physically, I don't know if we'll have any sort of minutes restriction the first few games or not. I think that really, I don't even know if OKC could really give him a true test. Maybe Minnesota could take Denver wire to wire. I really don't see anyone else winning a 7-game series against Denver out of the West.
And in the East Division, Boston's a super team. 62
it's unbelievable.
wins. The nearest are the Bucks, and the Giannis calf now makes you worry. Here's where I'm a little confused. People keep bringing this up. He's got a calf injury that was the same calf injury that Kevin Durant had that ended up being an Achilles tear.
Mm-hmm.
What sort of – and I know you're not a doctor, even though your father is. What kind of medical thing can they do? If you know that this is the sort of injury where you have a weakened muscle that can lead to a pretty traumatic injury like an Achilles, what can they possibly do for prevention? Because they're saying he's out for the regular season, but then he'll be back for the playoffs. What can you do to help that leg along?
Sure, it's a good question. Look, there's no simple fix. I think a lot of it is monitoring how he's feeling. For sure, and he will be doing this, strengthening the muscles around it. That's going to be hugely important. If there's no structural damage like a fracture or anything or a tear or anything along those lines that's really significant, obviously a strain is in essence a tear. Rest and strengthening the muscles around it, getting the proper treatment from the Milwaukee Bucks medical staff, their training staff. Sure, maybe some sort of anti-inflammatory, different medications could help here and there. I know sometimes players will try and expedite the recovery process depending on the injury and get what's called a PRP injection. But I honestly think in this case, Dave, it's simple rest and strengthening those muscles around the calf that deal with Achilles as well, and just kind of easing back into playing high-level basketball. I'm not sure if he's going to go out and be expected to play 40 minutes night one of the playoffs, depending on who they have. Obviously, they're going to need him at some point in the playoffs. But really, in my opinion, that's really all you can do if it's a true strain.
The way he went down, I thought, oh, that's it. He's done. And the fact that it was just the strain, but you're so right. A strain is just the degree of tear as compared to a sprain or a total tear.
Yep.
It's just the first part of it.
Absolutely. And that just heals over time with rest. It's not for me to say how long he would need to be out, though.
Speaking of all these injuries, you've done this now for a long time. Can you remember a team that had 33 different rostered players in 1 year, 51 different starting lineups? That is what the Grizzlies have endured this year. One, I think I know the answer. You've never seen anything like it. But two, and I asked Pete Pranica this thing, is this just a lost year, or did you gain knowledge like G.G. Jackson, Vince Williams?
Mm-hmm.
Did you get looks at people that you knew could be part of the rotation in the future? Is there any positive to this kind of craziness?
Sure. Well, you're right. To answer that first part of the question, Dave, I've never seen anything like this, and it felt like every time the Grizzlies earlier in the season would take a step forward in trying to get a Luke Kennard or a Marcus Smart back in the rotation, then they took 2 steps back because someone else went down or 2 different guys went down. So it is pretty rare that this happens in the NBA continuously. Yes, this season is a wash. It's been a wash for quite some time. But look, the Grizzlies front office and the coaches, they did what any team in that position should do, which is just try out young talent. I know the Grizzlies were giving 10-day contracts and call-up opportunities to players in the G League, for the most part, that they do like for the future. And so what better way to really get a true evaluation of a young player than to throw him out for an NBA game who cares if we win or lose? We want to see how you perform. And that's exactly what they got, obviously, drafting G.G. Jackson on a two-way. And I've talked about it before. His learning curve now is that much better and it's just quicker with the experience he's gotten this season. You think about where G.G. Jackson is going to be going into training camp in the fall, light years ahead of where he'd be had he spent the majority of this year in the G League, never really getting a true opportunity with the Grizzlies. I can promise you that much. And again, same thing with Vince Williams. He's emerged as a true rotational player with the Grizzlies. I still think he's a rotational player when you have everybody back healthy next year. They've obviously acquired different pieces through trades, and our guy, Lamar Stevens, who's been a nice addition and played really well. I know the coaching staff likes him. They're going to take a look at him going into the offseason. So what a lot of teams do, Dave, is they try to acquire young players who really are unknown commodities in the offseason, and maybe they'll put them through a mini camp and invite them to Summer League just to kind of have their coaches get their hands on these players, for lack of a better term, to truly mold them and shape them and evaluate them to see if these can be integral pieces and valuable pieces for the future. And the Grizzlies are already a few steps ahead of that process going into the offseason, having been able to do that now these last few months of the season. So I do think it's a positive. Is it going to move the needle to say, hey, a lot of these guys will help us win a championship a year from now? No. But again, you're getting a look at different players that could be really good pieces to round out your roster in the fall.
You know, they've got just so many wings. What are they going to do with all these wing players? Kennard, you mentioned
Laravia.
Laravia, who's 32 the other night. Now, I'll be honest with you, at the beginning of this year, now he's been hurt, but I didn't think he had it in him. I was high on Roddy. I'd given up on Laravia. Now, part of that is, and I say this all the time, there's going to be 100 points scored a game in the NBA. Somebody's going to get them, and maybe that's a part of it. But Laravia has shown me something at the end of this year where he's going to be a rotation player for somebody. And Pete Pranica said the other day, I think it's 50-50. It could still be the Grizz.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to speak too much on him or his game. Obviously, he's not a client of mine.
Right.
He has shown flashes, and he, I think, improved and gotten more confident, especially in his shot selection the second half of the season. So I do think I'm with you. Like, going into this season and what you've seen from him the first couple of months, I believe he was the 19th overall draft pick. Head scratcher picking him at 19 and seeing the lack of productivity, but finishing the season on a high note like he has really throughout March and April. It is encouraging going into this off season, going into training camp for next year. And it's a similar path. You've seen promise from Zaire Williams. He was a lottery pick. You didn't really see much from him the first couple of years in the league, and I believe he's in his third year now, and he's definitely taken steps in the right direction. He's had injuries as well. But again, some of these younger players, because of the experience they've gotten on the roster this year, they have grown maybe quicker than they would have somewhere else where they just would not have much opportunity on the court.
I was looking at NBADraft.net today just in preparation for this. I see Clemson, Klingon, the kid from Connecticut. He's a late first-rounder. Edey is a second-rounder. By the way, the Grizzlies have 3 second-round picks, and he's the first one, they say, at 38. I think they have 38, 39, and somewhere in the late 50s. I think Edey can play in the NBA. I think he showed me something this year. He outplayed Klingon, who is a younger player in the NCAA tournament. What do you think about these two guys?
Well, I am biased because we do represent Zach Edey, and I do believe he will be a first round. I don't think there's any way he gets into the 30s. I think from what he's shown this season, and definitely in the tournament in that championship game Monday night, offensively he is a force. He's just too dominant. And if you want to sit there and nitpick his defense and maybe a lack of lateral mobility, go ahead. But we're not talking about Zach Edey as the number 1, 2, 3 pick. If he had those attributes, then we'd be talking about him as a top 5, top 10 pick. I think the reason NBA people do tend to lean towards Donovan Klingon from UConn is because, yes, he has more lateral mobility, lateral quickness. He's shown an ability to defend on the perimeter, just a little bit more adept than Zach has probably. I don't believe that he's anywhere near the offensive force that Zach is, and I think you did see that Monday. But again, NBA teams want to know that you can defend your position. I was talking to a team yesterday. It was a rather good point. If they're drafting a 5, they're not drafting a 5, given how their roster is in this particular team, for offense. They want to make sure that they have a big who can protect the rim, rebound, and step out in the perimeter and stay with quicker, faster guards. And I understand teams' hesitancy in looking at Edey and thinking maybe he can't do those things. There's definitely different defensive schemes you can put him in to protect that. You have to, again, it's a lot of it is situational, but because of everything I just talked about with Edey's offensive game, I do think he'll end up being drafted. I think somewhere late teens, early 20s. I think that's his floor. I don't see the Grizzlies taking him with their probable lottery pick here, depending on where it ends up. But again, I don't see him being available there for the Grizzlies in the 30s. So if they do covet a player like Zach, they're obviously going to need a big, whether they add a big in the draft or whether they go out and try and sign a big in free agency. He is someone they could look at, but they'd have to move around and maneuver around on draft night to get another pick in there, maybe somewhere in the teens, to assure that they can get a guy like Zach.
That's Andy Schiffman. He's our guy. He's our agent in Chicago. We'll talk more draft. I want to know what you think of Cam Jones, the kid that played at Marquette and is from Memphis.
Memphis product, yeah.
Right. Well, he could stay. He could stay at Marquette, or he could go. I've seen him.
He should stay. I'll tell you that right now.
All right. Well, we'll talk about that next week. Thank you, Andy. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thanks, Dave.
That is our guy. That is Andy Schiffman on the NBA and a whole lot more. And he's brought to you by another guy that is involved in the Tigers program. You know, Andy was a video coordinator for the University of Memphis with Josh Pastner. My man, Matt Eflin, well, he's just involved in contributions. He's a big supporter of the Tiger program. In fact, such a supporter that in his phone number, 901-386, he's got the numbers 4777. They spell out GUR, because they're big Tiger guys. 901-386-GUR if you want to be protected the collaborative way. And that is simple. He gets to know you and your family, what's important, what your budget is. Then he'll protect your home. He'll protect your car. He'll protect your future with the right life insurance. He gets to know you to figure that out. Same thing with small to mid-sized businesses. He'll get to know your product, your employees, all about you, forecast you out, what's the budget for protection, and then he takes care of your business. It's that simple. 386-GUR. Get protected the collaborative way with the Eflin Insurance Team. We end our week with Brian Dacus. He is right around the corner.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Visit Frontier Western Store today for new shirts and boots. Frontier is your top Carhartt store in the Mid-South. There's thousands of in-stock shirts and jeans. They have the classic K87 pocket tee in every color they make, including new ones just released. Available small to 4X. Want new jeans? Frontier has you covered with super tough work denim by Carhartt. And you've got to check out their selection of Ariat jeans for men, women, and children. You'll love how easy it is to find the size and style you need. Have you seen Frontier's remodeled world-famous boot showroom? It continues to expand. New styles by Ariat just arrived, plus plenty of in-stock proven classics too. Whether you need work or dress boots, trust that Frontier's the place to come. See thousands of pairs of Ariat boots and thousands more by Dan Post, Corral, Durango, Rocky, Twisted X, and others. And Frontier's pricing is lower than online and chain stores, so you know just the local shop to visit. Frontier Western Store, 5880 Goodman Road in Olive Branch, and on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Locally owned and operated since 1967.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus of Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Angie's List is now Angie, and we've heard a lot of theories about why.
I thought it was an eco move. Fewer words, less paper.
No, it was so you could say it faster.
No, it's to be more iconic.
Must be a tech thing.
But those aren't quite right. It's because now you can compare upfront prices, book a service instantly, and even get your project handled from start to finish.
Sounds easy.
It is, and it makes us so much more than just a list. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
Hi, this is Jimmy Stovall with Corky's Barbecue. We have been serving up our legendary barbecue for more than 39 years, right here in Memphis, Tennessee. Whether you're dining in, picking up in our drive-thru, or serving our famous barbecue at your office or home, with Corky's Party Pack, you are the hit of the party. Barbecue pulled pork, baked beans, coleslaw, barbecue sauce, and buns, starting at only $8.49 per person. And as you know, we send plenty of food. You never have to worry about running out with Corky. Hi, this is Jimmy Stovall with Corky's Barbecue. We have been serving up our legendary barbecue for more than 39 years, right here in Memphis, Tennessee. Whether you're dining in, picking up in our drive-thru, or serving our famous barbecue at your office or home, with Corky's Party Pack, you are the hit of the party. Barbecue pulled pork, baked beans, coleslaw, barbecue sauce, and buns, starting at only $8.49 per person. And as you know, we send plenty of food. You never have to worry about running out with Corky.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Did you know April might be the very best month of the year to sell your home? Now, I get this from Sheldon Rosengarten, Mark Spensdorf, and while he told me the market's been crazy hot since the first of the year, what lies ahead could be even better. There are more buyers in the markets and rates that are incredibly reasonable. The only thing that won't get any better would be his golf game, because he's terrible. They call him Mr. Three-Putt, and there's a reason. I don't play on the same course he's played at, and he plays Miramichi a bunch, because it's risky. He's often hitting other players, but when it comes to selling homes, oh boy, he's the pro. He's as good as they get. He'll even talk to you and tell you, hey, talk to 2 or 3 real estate brokers. Just make sure I'm one of them. And then when you hear about the philosophy, the strategy, then you're going to go, I got to have this guy because he gets the job done. That's why they call him Sheldon. You can reach him at 483-0546. You can go to memphisrelocate.com. He's got a strategy, the 3 Ps, and once he is on your side, you get to the closing table much quicker. He's a bad golfer, but he's a great real estate agent. If you're thinking about selling your home, if you know somebody who is, Sheldon Rosengarten can be reached again, 383-0546 or memphisrelocate.com. Brian Takis ends our week as always. Last week was the big splash week. You had the big kid. You had Haggerty.
Yep.
What's going on now? You know, full disclosure, I'm about to go see Penny.
Yeah.
And I'm anxious to hear from him. But what do you think? Who's out there? Who is Memphis going to get? And I see all these messages where it's basically guys from the American that are in the portal.
Yeah.
The American, we all would say, is just a fair league, right?
Sure, yeah.
I think you would aspire for better.
Sure.
And, you did with the kid from Illinois.
Absolutely. And so I think a big part of that is just, we're familiar with those guys in the American. A lot of those guys you saw at least once, some twice this season and maybe seasons before. But there's a couple. I know the names from the American. Colby Rogers from Wichita State. I think he's got. I think Alabama's really
he's a shooter,
in on him.
right?
Big shooter. Alabama's in on him. Kansas is in on him. He's got a lot of high major offers. I know Aaron Scott from North Texas has been a guy that a lot of people have been talking about. He's more of a 3-and-D guy, can play some really good defense, and I don't know much about him. It's weird this year. I feel like this year in particular, there's not as much information out there about guys in terms of what their who's after them, who they're really in on until the very end, until they commit. And I've got my iPad here. I've got a spreadsheet with all the guys I at least know that Memphis is in on, trying to keep up with them. But
by the way, that spreadsheet is more than a page on an iPad.
It's 3 pages with different guys. The current Memphis roster. It's color coded. It's keeps me in line, Dave. But one interesting one that I do want to bring up, because I think a lot of Tiger fans will remember this guy, Gibson Jimerson from St. Louis.
Oh yeah,
is a guy that
he's a 6'6" shooter.
Yeah, and a really good shooter. I think last year the numbers were a little down.
He
from
did
3.
not have a good year at all.
No,
I watched a couple St. Louis games and he missed a lot of shots.
He struggled, but 2 years ago was a 40% 3-point shooter. So a guy that really trusts his shot. This shocked me. A 5-year guy at St. Louis and is now entering the portal with 1 more year of eligibility. He's a guy.
His coach got fired,
right?
And the guy that was at Indiana State is coming in.
It sounds like his whole starting lineup had eligibility remaining at Indiana State. I know they're Avila, the big guy that everyone
glasses.
loves. Yeah, he's already going there.
Abdul-Jabbar.
That's right. Yeah, he's already pretty much said that he's going. I'm pretty sure a lot of their guys are going to follow.
Well, he's in the portal with one of those. What is it?
No contact tag.
Yeah, no contact because he's going.
That's right.
With his coach.
That's
now, right. I think that guy accepted the St. Louis job too quickly.
I think so
because
too.
there were a bunch of other more major conferences with schools that were interested in what's his name, Schurz?
Yeah, Schurz. Yeah,
Schurz. He could have done better.
Yeah,
than
I think
St. Louis U.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and so it was interesting. But it sounds like a lot of his guys are going to follow him. So certainly these St. Louis guys are going to be looking at their options.
Now that kid, I would take Jimerson because he can flat out shoot the ball, and he will stick his nose in there and defend a little bit.
Yeah,
I remember Memphis losing to St. Louis in St. Louis. And he was pretty good in that game.
Yeah. And so I think that's kind of the big need for the Tigers now. I'm curious what you learned from Penny today on kind of where he sees the biggest needs. But you've gotten a point guard, certainly want depth. You've gotten a big man, you certainly want depth there as well. But I think an athletic wing, a wing that can be a 3-and-D, a shooter. I think those are kind of the big needs right now for the Tigers.
I think there's room for another big guy too.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you've got. The great name.
Dane Danger.
Yeah. Dane Danger. He's a dangerous guy. Danger, but you do have Jourdain, and then you've got nothing because you've got nothing on this roster.
Yeah. Well, and that's the big thing, and certainly you need front court depth. I mean, Danger, I'm excited what he can bring. I know Jason Munns has a really good story about him that I think he published yesterday over at the Commercial Appeal. Kind of talks about him. He's listed online at 270, and I think he's down to about 258 right now. He's trying to get to 240, which will be interesting to see if he wants to get all the way down to 240 once he's down there, and if he wants to stay there as his playing weight. But he wants to get a little quicker, a little faster, and I think that will certainly help him because we know how Penny Hardaway likes to run up and down the court.
Darby Rich is working with him incredibly tough. Did I see where Young has transferred to Vermont?
Vermont, yeah.
This guy went from UCF to Memphis to Vermont. What do you think? You know what? I'm not putting him down because first of all, I like him, but I think he realized what his level is.
Absolutely. This is a guy that was a rotation piece at UCF. He comes here and was kind of told from day one, you're our backup point guard, dealt with a lot of injuries. And so I think, you go to Vermont and sure, it's a step down in competition, but I do think that's a place where he goes in and day one, he's the starting point guard, and I think that'd be good for him.
Last day of the signing period, dead period today.
Yeah.
What, we going to see a bunch of action next week?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're going to see a lot of action with a lot of different places, and so it'll be interesting to see. It's been quiet. We talked about everything that happened last week, but it's been quiet this week, kind of around all of college basketball, and so I think that ticks up next week, and we see a lot of guys. And now you got to keep an eye on. I believe a lot of these Kentucky guys will follow Cal, but you got to keep an eye on that. And with a lot of jobs now opening because of the domino effect, you got to keep an eye on that. As much as Penny wants to go with the transfer portal, you never know. Maybe you get a late high school recruit out of there.
Well, maybe you get Billy Richmond.
Maybe
you never know.
You never know.
Congratulations, by the way, to Don Bomar. He won the tickets for the Grizzlies and the Lakers tonight. end the segment with you helping me on my commercial.
That's right. Oh,
for
man.
the good folks at Grind City. You went to the concert last week.
Did.
Tell me about the grounds. Tell me about everything.
Oh, it was unbelievable. I mean, first off, for the event, the concert, it was one of the. I haven't been to a ton of concerts, a ton of festivals, but out of the ones I've been to, this was the best one I've been to in terms of getting parked, getting in. Everyone was super friendly, and we had a couple of the Poppy's pills. Big fan of the Poppy's
just
pills.
what the doctor ordered.
Very good, very good. So it was a great time. We had an absolute blast.
And you guys, there's concerts just about every weekend at Grind City Brewing, and he mentioned the Poppy's Pills. How about the God Hopper? That's a great pale ale. Or the Amber Lager Thaddeus. Or if you like Blue Moon, there's the Belga. That's their style of it. It's a Belgian wheat ale. It is fantastic. There's the craft malt liquor called Tiger Tail. So many reasons you want to go head downtown, get a good look at the skyline, picnic out there. It's just a fantastic place. This weekend's going to be perfect to go visit Grind City Brewery. That'll do it for us. We'll see you bright and early on Monday. Johnny Radio is right around the corner. Have a great weekend, everybody.